Okay, I feel more composed. That last one that I just tried, so for anyone that's been trying to pop on to Ask the Invisible, it's been having some serious misalignment in this new space. So we're here again. I hope you can see me. This is an office space that I'm subleasing. I'd love to show you a little bit of the view because it's just so pretty. Oh, there's my big light. So I hope you can see, but out there we've got the Salish Sea, which is just so beautiful. Woo! So because this is taking a while, that might just be me, but I want to just welcome you all to 2018. We've reached the 11th year to the master number. So I know for me, this entrance into 2018 has been really amazing. There's been a lot of very clear shifts happening on the physical plane. A lot of my life is getting an upgrade in so many levels. This office being one of them, being able to be present for people in person more and create space to, work with people in my community. This has been huge because so much of my work is connected to those all around the world, which is amazing. And so a big part of my New Year's resolution has been, how can I foster relationships in person? How can I really start putting my energy towards what's really around me in my ecosystem in this life? And so here we are. And so I think that just because the whole first try at this was such a flop with the Wi-Fi cutting out and me being out of alignment, this is just an opportunity for me to welcome you into your space and welcome you into this year and welcome you into what is it to bring forth a life that you haven't experienced yet? How do you create space for something that is beyond you to move through you? And I think that's a lot of what I'm creating space for right now in my life is how can I have a community-minded, yay, hello everyone for popping on. I'm centered again. If you tried popping on the last episode, it was a little out of alignment. So just talking about the power of making oneself available for our communities. And how do we do that? How do we step forth and really declare what we're here to support each other in? And that I had an experience on this New Year's where the first thing we did, it was a very ceremonial New Year's event with a lot of intention and structure and prayer, where I still stayed up till 6:30 in the morning. But one of the things that I did was in the opening circle, people, as we were creating the space, I got to offer to everyone in the gathering saying, this is a bit of the work I do. I do channeling, clairvoyant work, theta healing. And if at any point in the night you feel really called to just like drop in with me, if there's something that's percolating, then like, please come to me. And, I can always say no. But what happened was I realized that by creating that open invitation in this public space, it actually deepened my connections. And I was able to have really impactful connections that had so much presence in them, because people knew that they were entering into our dialogue with the openness to going deeper, that openness was there. Oh, great to see you. glad you could see me, everyone. I felt very embarrassed, my first attempt at doing this. I hope the Wi-Fi is strong enough. This is actually why I'm renting this office, but it seems like it might be slower than my humble abode in the forest. So why I bring this up is, what's a way that, I guess the invitation I have for you, for all of you watching, is there a way that you could make yourself more available for the connections that you desire in your life? And what are ways that you can do that to really start curating, if anything, the encounters and the experiences that you have, especially when going into social settings? And I found that was really powerful to claim and declare my offerings to the community, and how that really filtered the connections I had. And And so in that same gathering, there's people that felt like they weren't able to have much connections. And so I realized that this felt like it was the magical elixir of how to have more presence in our world. So moving on with Asking Invisibles, I felt like I had to just get that out of my chest. Because it's a little late, because of all the technical difficulties, if anyone wants to put a question on the thread, this is an opportunity for you to ask a question to humanity, the planet, or for yourself. And you can put it on the thread. You can also send me a private message, but because I'm not using, yes, you can send me a private message if you don't want your name attached. I'm kind of like renegading this one because my normal program wasn't working. And if I don't, oh, I think I've got a message here. And if I don't get a message, I can totally just go for my own questions or the lovely intermission songs. Blessed New Year's, everyone. You guys made it. This internet is actually kind of slow, so. Just looks like I've got a message here. Yeah, and if anyone wants to share any of their New Year's affirmations that they feel called to be witnessed, feel free to put that on. Okay, I don't have a message, so I'm just gonna. So the question that I had earlier was actually about sabotage, and it was hilarious because I felt like I sabotaged my entire Ask the Invisibles. So the question I have right now is maybe if there's anything that the Invisibles feel called to share regarding entering into this next, numerological cycle into 2018. If there's any guidance that they have or insights for everyone watching. Here we go. There is motion that takes you to where you're going from within yourself. Internal momentum and stamina that in itself is life force, desiring to experience what it can become. So right now, if that life force is in you and it is moving in you and you feel that there isn't an objective, there isn't a goal, or it's fuzzy to understand, it's not clear what this life force wants to become this year. Well, one way of going about it is, what does this year want of you? What's needed of you for the world? Who do you need to transform yourself into to be available for the world this year? To be available for your community, to be available for yourself. Because each year represents the beginning of a cycle that allows you to redesign what you believe in, who you believe you are, and most importantly, how you are going about creating space for something in greater alignment. So for each of you watching, is there something that you have seen in another person that you thought, I could do something like that? How could that apply to me? How could I use my own unique talent or gifts or ways of going about the world and learn from this role model, this example? How is that relevant? And then, is there a way of going a step further If you get that answer, or even if you don't, what are ways of creating connection between you and those that inspire you, that allows more space to be witnessed by those that you are inspired by, or to allow yourself to learn from them, to glean wisdom from them, and at the same time realize who's inspired by you. What are qualities that you bring to the table, right? So this is a year of coming in from the back way. So instead of setting intentions fully for what you want, listen to where there is a need that you feel you're capable and desire to fill it. And these can take a little more quandaries, a little more questioning. But to go from the need and find your place in that way of supporting a need is a very powerful foundation for success. Thank you. All right, everyone. Donnie, yes, Donnie, for sure. So if you want to put a question on, Donnie, you're totally welcome to do that, unless there's a private message. Let's see. So the first actual question I have is from Christy. And Christy says, hey, Sarah, Happy New Year's. I feel like I've asked this question a few times, but looking for more specific guidance as it pertains to me now. The invisible sent me guidance on what I need to do to get my healing career off the ground and move forward in this area of my life. And what are the immediate steps I can take to make this possible? All right. Let's see. And Donnie, if you're still on, feel free to either send me a private message or, oh, there it is. Okay. Well, first I'm going to get to Christy because she posted a question first, but you can be next, Donnie. All right. So this is, once again, in this regards to this is for Christy Felice and her healing career off the ground and move forward in this area of my life. Well, one of the things we want to see is, what about your healing career feels stuck? Is it the part that doesn't have the support of finances coming in, the support of having enough clients, enough people coming towards you? Or is it the part where you're feeling that it's not nourishing you in the way that it is? Because the thing about a career is that it is a way of life, right? It's how you show up for the world, how you show up for your community, regardless of being hired for what your offerings are. So in this healing world, is there a way that in some ways you may be blocking your offerings to yourself, to your world? That's something we want you to get into, is how can you create a momentum within your business? I think they want me to bring this up, and something that actually was really powerful, and I think I brought this up the last class, or the last Ask the Invisible, something that was really powerful for me in bringing my work to the world was just really starting to offering it and doing it in a way where I at first was just like offering it to my community and just starting to build those relationships, because with any career, I find that word of mouth is really like, that's really the way to go. And so something that they're kind of showing me is that there's something of like a possible block on how you're not fully, and take it or leave it with anything that comes up, believe it, receive it, take it or leave it. But is there a way that you're not fully living your healing work in your life? And so something that can even be is if there's some really big shifts that need to happen in your life that are really imperative to you being able to thrive and for you in your own healing journey, that you haven't been making. And sometimes those are really hard decisions. I know a lot of my work actually has taken off and really grown when I make these really hard decisions in life. Like when I make these commitments that I know actually are blocks in my life, and I'm kind of just holding on to them. But I realize that in that holding on to whatever that block is, I'm actually not radiating my work to the world. And it's through completing these initiations that you're actually now bringing that teaching to the world, that you're really ready to hold other people, because you're taking the steps that are hard in your life. So there's something about that, and I know that you are definitely taking a lot of steps, but I'd love for you to explore that. Is there something in your life that is requiring you to take a big step, and maybe you've known it, or maybe you don't want to know about it, that's in the back burner, but how can you really like get out of that block? Because it feels like a block, like it feels like there's a block in your life, like when I feel it, that is requiring you to really make a huge sacrifice. And then in that sacrifice, you're actually opening up a whole bunch of energy for your work. So I'm going to stop there, but I think there's a lot more to that. But let's start at that point, because without being available energetically, you can never get anything off the ground. All right, thank you. All right, so moving on. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you guys were able to find me. I had a bit of a funky first try in the new office. I realized there's actually a cafe below me, and there's a lot of energy and happenings below me, and I didn't really ground myself into this space, acknowledging that, until after I was like, what is going on? Why am I so out of alignment? So moving on. So this is for you, Donnie, who are next. So it looks like you have a couple questions. We'll start with the first one, and then we'll go up the line. Hello, everyone, by the way, popping on. All right, so Donnie, is it possible to do reading with me? Yes. Can you tell me something about my body and what's going on with it? Okay. Yeah, let's see what they have to say. So there are 3 different areas of your life and your body that we want to focus on. One of them is, okay, they're actually showing me like there's something with they're calling it your left arm joint. The left arm also is a place of receiving, so it's, at least in my beliefs. And so, you know, on a physical level, to be the joint is to how you're able to like bring in and receive from the world is connected to your left arm. So I think this is what they're talking about, possibly up here. Let's keep going. Without understanding much about the situation at hand, we want to explore what is going on within the body that you hold, right? Because there's something there that's not being witnessed. One of the things I'm hearing also like sacroiliac, possibly. And then there is something about the hip, but like I feel like they're more interested in sharing if there's any guidance that they have, if there's anything that's being held there energetically, because those are the places that have all kind of come up as holding or storing something. So let's see. If you want to understand what you hold to support you in times of challenge, then look to the body. Look to the parts of your body that are feeling tension, that are feeling resistance, that are holding on and almost calcifying themselves with the weight and the burden of this choice. Because in this holding, in this resistance, in this compression, energy is not allowed to fully move freely. This is a pretty simple idea. And at the same time, if there's less space for water, if more of the embankment folds in on itself, then sometimes it's in that condensed space that is actually a stronger current because the pressure is there. So why we're bringing this up is that there's something happening with the energy in your body, having places of compression that are preventing it from fully moving. And thus, if you think of water moving through its path of least resistance, the energy is getting almost, they're showing me this image of how if energy is water and water is moving through your body, that there's certain areas, some of the areas they're showing you, maybe something else you're specifically aware of, where that energy starts to pool. And it's interesting because energy itself, it can be life force, right? But if it's pulling in on itself, it actually can, and that's when it can start creating like an over excess. So even some things like tumors are like an over excess of energy pulling in on itself. And so in Reiki, so I was trained a bit in Reiki, and one of the things that they do in Reiki is that there's actually a symbol. So there's a symbol where you allow energy to move through. So it's the Reiki Shoku-rei, this opening of energy to move through. And then there's also this concept of how to slow energy from moving, like slow down the current of energy. Because in some cases, when doing healing work, what's actually can be happening is that there's too much energy building up in different areas of the body. And so that actually needs to be like slowed down and almost if there's too much, then you have to almost remove the excess of it. And so kind of, I guess what I'm seeing is how is that related to maybe what's going on in your body. If you want to get specifically into what you're aware of that's going on in your body, they were just showing that these are places that were possibly storing, where there's energy being held. Maybe the left arm, them showing that, was that maybe there's a way of you actually moving, so moving energy out through your body, so creating momentum using that movement through your left arm. That could be helpful, because like what they're kind of showing me is that there's these areas where energy is pooling, right, and it's building up, and how to redirect where those currents are. So those places, so your sacroiliac, your hips, so doing possibly work also your joint here to start moving around and kind of releasing. So one way for anyone that's watching too, that's really an easy way of just shedding or releasing energy if you feel like you have too much, is I do this practice. I just stand up for a moment. So if I feel like there's just excess, I kind of pull it down. So if it was in this case, you know, if we're talking about his elbow, so I would kind of using my hand, just like pull it, and I'm using my hands like this. So I'm actually almost like if you had, so I'm pulling out, and then when I get down here, I just go like that, and there's ways of disposing of it. So in that disposing, sometimes, I mean, if you have a candle, you can also throw it there. If you have a bowl of salt water, you can also send it down into the earth. And so that's when I feel like there's just too much excess. You know, if there's hips, kind of getting it moving, and then I'd move that down my legs. So that's pretty simple. But those are ways of starting to create exercises that actually, you know, awaken what's there and then can release it. So personally in my life, I usually receive, so energy moves up through my left hand and then out through my right. So that current's really helpful. So that's for you, Johnny, is how can you create a movement, how you can create a pathway or a passageway for the excess energy in your body. And that's going to actually help the pooling that's happening that can turn in, like they said, that pooling can turn into tumors, that pooling can turn into so many things, but if you can start creating pathways. Acupuncture is also an amazing way of using the natural pathways that are already in the body to release and restore and replenish. I'm actually in an acupuncturist clinic. All right, so moving on. Hello, everyone popping on, by the way. So the next question I have, it's a little tricky to understand this Facebook Live. I think I'm used to something else, but let's see. I think the next question, I'm sorry, just bear with me for a moment as I go through these questions. It's hard to tell when they arrived. Okay, so the next question we have is, wow, is somebody here that wrote something in Hebrew? I'm sorry, I don't know how to read Hebrew to answer you if it's a question. I apologize. If anyone, or if you want to translate what you wrote in Hebrew so that I can respond to you, that would be amazing. So the next question we have is from Lena. And Lena says, hello, dear Sarah. Could you ask the invisibles if my ex in twin flame is near to be free and realize what was done to her, please? You know, that is a question I cannot ask because that goes against another person's will for me to work on them because it's not fully related to you. So I want to just honor. So with questions too, and that's something that can come up, is that I might not say yes to them. So that's why I'm, you know, for the questions here, it's questions for yourself, the planet, or humanity. And so if you do have a question that's related or in regards to somebody else, in the past I might have explored that, but I feel really clear that I don't want to do that. Just really honor and respect other people's permission. So I'm going to move on down the line. I hope you understand, Lena. So the next question that we have is from Lori. Hello, Lori. Welcome. So Lori says, I need courage to move forward to accomplish more. I don't quite understand what is blocking me. Okay. So it sounds like you know you need courage. And the thing that we want to ask a question about is if there's any guidance on what is blocking. Does that sound correct? All right. Oh, and Lena. Hey, Lena. And I hope you just heard. Were you here when I was talking about your answer? All right. So this is the question for, and hello, everyone popping on. This is for Lori. All right. So Lori, let's get into if there's any support on what might be blocking you. Okay. There's any guidance on that. That's a really great question. Really simple. So here we go. Happy New Year, Hala. firstly, there's some expression within your body that needs to have space to exist. Okay. And what we're seeing is there's a way, I'm just going to describe what they're showing me. At first, like even while I was waiting, I saw this image of you like, I had this image of you like all this like this sounding that wants to come out, like these sounds that want to really almost like clean out your body through using sound, and that it'd be really powerful to explore your having a little sound journey with yourself. I don't know if there's, I mean, I think it could be powerful to yourself if you're comfortable, but finding a place where you feel like you can be really loud and really just get into whatever primal thing is going on. Because like what they're showing me is that there's just a lot of energy that you're over with, you're done with, but it still wants like an outlet outside of your body, like almost to just like come out through sound. And maybe that's connected to your throat. So the throat chakra is a lot about communication and how we express ourselves. And so perhaps maybe some of the blockage is in relation to you expressing yourself. And, you know, in some cases, it could even be not trusting that we listen to our expression of ourselves, not trusting, and that could be from the past where, you know, maybe there's things that you've said or done that, you know, were out of integrity with yourself, with, you know, with ways that you actually believe you should be in this life to thrive. And so how can you create space to like really release through sounding any extra glunk that's in there? Because kind of what they're showing me is that in this processes of like clearing out your body, that's actually really important work for you right now. Okay, is continuously to clear out and reshift and realign with where you're at currently. And some of that, sometimes it takes a little while because there's, you know, life can be slower, like how things move through the body can be slower than how things move in the spirit plane. I know I've gotten annoyed by that sometimes, like, can't just be, I'm over this. But sound is a really powerful outlet for bridging the body with the spirit plane, especially sounds that don't have words in it. So how can you explore that? That's one suggestion. And then from there, as you start purging out some of that energy, it's going to be a lot more, life will be able to reflect you clearer. If that makes sense. All right, thank you. All right, so moving on. Hello, everyone, by the way, popping on. Sorry, my last link was a bit of a failure. Okay. So the next screen we've got is from Ellen, and it says, "Hi, Sarah and Invisible. Hello. I still am working on making that big decision about what to do regarding my life, work, and career. It's January now, and I have to make that decision soon." Okay. So what's your question, my dear? Is your question what's your question? That's different than the question you've asked before. If you could clarify what your question is. Okay. Okay, there it is. It's whether I enroll in a program to get my mid-moderate special ed credential or not, just keep substitute teaching. The first will mean committing more time and money, as well as getting myself hired in a special ed classroom, 2-year internship program. So I'll be already working as a special ed teacher and receiving a full teacher's salary as I'm learning. That sounds great. Of course, means more of my time and energy, but in return, I will receive more resources as well, like twice as much a year as I currently receive. To not take the program means to keep living as I do, paycheck to paycheck, but with less responsibility. To enroll in the program or not. Oh, you're welcome, Lori, by the way. Well, I guess. See, the thing about to enroll in the program or not is that this is a choice decision. So it's more, I think more that what they can get at is to explore where you're making your choices from, because that's really what's going to make it clear for you. Because really there's no one that can tell you what's best for you or not in this case, because it feels like it's an initiation for you to figure out if you're really committing to more of your time freedom, or if you're really committing to taking on a career path that's going to help a lot of people in a more structured way. And I know for myself, the power of structure, creating structure in one's life to actually is to create the environment that's ready to have the interactions you want is really powerful. So how do you feel about working with the special ed? Like, is that something that you're deeply passionate about, supporting these beings, these beautiful, beautiful beings? Because if there's no passion there, if it's just for paycheck and you're capable of doing it, then that's a whole other situation. Because I think it's really important for you to understand if this is your dharma for the planet, to create more of a structure so that you can offer more. And that's something I've learned a lot, is that by creating more structure, I'm actually reaching a lot more people and I'm a lot more available. But I've committed to my work in that way. I've committed to be completely free of having 9-to-5 jobs, of working for other people, because I'm so fully committed to all of you guys and all of the people that come to me for my work. But in that, it was really important for me to take that as my job. And so if you are, my feeling is like, if you are going to choose to not go down the path of taking on this career path, clearly it seems like you're also ready to be of greater service. And so if that greater service can also bring in more money, you know, what is something that you're really passionate about that you'd be willing to invest a lot of your time and make yourself available for on your own terms? Because I know for me, it's like, I see you as a woman that has, you know, you've got a lot of life experience under your belt, and you know, are you really ready to slow down right now? Is that the phase you're in? I think. So let's see what the Invisibles have to say. And then, just because I was late today, I'm going to see if we have any messages after this, just to cue y'all before going into Ellen's. I think that's the last one I can see. So unless there's a private message that I'm not picking up on. Okay, there's a private message I saw. Perfect. So I'm going to do Ellen and then the private message. Okay. Ellen, here we go. What's going on with these choices that you're making? Where are they coming from? Where are they stemming from? So the choice really that we see is, are you in a place in your life where the next step is to have the financial freedom to start considering more of how you exist in your life, to have more choices that are in relation to your finances, being able to use money. Because when you get into these offerings, the main thing that we see coming up is that to have this career path, to have this consistency of income, is it worth sacrificing the flexibility that you currently experience in your life? And in some way, we want you to go into, is it worth not? Okay? Is living paycheck to paycheck, as you expressed, actually feel like you're fulfilling your Dharma on this planet with the work that you're doing during that time? Though it may not be financially rewarding work, the connections you're having, the ways of showing up. Because when it comes down to any of the answers you will find, which of them are going to be fulfilling your Dharma on this planet? And so when making that choice, and that Dharma being also your offering to the world, your way of being service to the world, in some situations, actually, having more resources, more money to work with can actually mean that you have more energy available. Even if getting that money is from acts of, spending lots of time working with these people, working with these beautiful beings. So to get into the choice, for any of you, why you make a choice. In many choices, you can get to that single question: is this fulfilling my Dharma on this planet? Is this in alignment with how I offer what's needed of me on this planet? What's needed of me to show up for this planet? And you'll feel that. Listen to that internal yes or no, whatever comes first. Something that was shared with me when I was younger, and I really keep to it, is if it's a yes, right? If it's kind of like the first answer you have is your true answer. So the first answer that you ever feel, take it or leave it, but is your true feeling, is that instinct speaking loudly. And then everything else is, the mind or the ego, or you trying to understand how to make a choice from your life experience, from, looking at the greater picture and all that thing. So the question I have for you maybe is to explore, when this opportunity came up, what was your feeling? Was it a yes? Was that your first feeling? If so, you might want to go into that. So thank you so much, Ellen, and thank you all for popping on. So the next question we have ooh, I'm getting a whole bunch of fun little symbols. Oh, you got some sadness, some pluck, some anger. Who's angry? What's going on? Oh, Lena. Lena, I wasn't able, so I guess you popped on after I got to your question. Because your question is entirely related to another person's life, so where they're at in their life, I actually can't answer that, because that goes against their, my respect for their personal space, because they're not actually giving me permission to do that. In the past, I might have been a little more lenient if it was connected with you, but in this situation, it's out of my realm of questionings, and I really want to really honor that. So no, I didn't answer your question. All right. And so Ellen, she said, yes, I will become 60 years old this year's birthday. So taking on a somewhat new career is a bit late in my life, but I have been teaching all my life as well. All right. So I'm going to this is a private question, and it says, I just went through a hard last few days. My mom has been in a dark depression and threatening suicide, and I have felt powerless and helpless around how to help her. What does she need in order to heal? What can I do? How can I best support myself through this? Okay, so also in relation, so there's parts of this question, this is just coming up again, just to be clear with people asking questions. So the questions are for yourself, humanity, or the planet. So I can't necessarily answer what she needs to heal without her giving me permission, just to honor that. But what I can do is I can explore how to best support you through this time in relation to your mother. So, and I think, yeah, so how can you best support yourself through this is something we can get to. All right. And I think this is going to be the last question today for everyone popping on. Unless there's a question that's been asked, but I don't think so. Okay, here we go. So this is for the private message in regards to how can you support, if there's any guidance on tools or ways that you can support yourself during this challenging time with your mother. And also knowing, just to add, that knowing that if in this question there feels like there's permission in some ways, sometimes there is permission when the invisibles check in more with their guides. We might be able to get a little something about her, but only if there's permission in there. Don't get caught up in the parts of your inherent truth. How do we say this? There is something that you share with your mother that is impenetrable, that cannot be bent, that cannot be torn, that cannot be destroyed. This goes with everyone in many ways. There is an aspect of life force that once initiated through the mother in birth, then is shared through that child for the rest of their life. And it is that life force that what you... Okay, I'm just gonna... They're having a little bit of confusion right now what they're able to share, so... Okay, so what they're kind of showing me is that there's something about... So with any kind of healing work, I've found that there's usually there's loopholes, right? So in Theta, the idea that unconditional love, like this around the seventh plane, that unconditional love is a place that you can always be in. So you can always share that. You don't necessarily need permission to offer unconditional love. But what they're showing me in relation to our connection with our mothers is how I saw it was actually like in that process of, your spirit coming into the body and forming in the mother's body, there's actually like this, it looks like this, like, I don't quite have a word for it, but like this point of consciousness, this life force that is shared between the two of you, and that you're able to actually communicate with that life force in her. And so the image I have is ways of helping her through this right now, and also helping yourself through this is is finding, is almost like when people are losing themselves in the dark, you know, or going in through that. I'm going to rewind. Something that I learned recently is about the word depression, actually, and this is in relation to Old Irish language, and is that there's actually no word for depression in Old Ireland, like in the Old Gaelic language, because depression, and in the Old Gaelic language, it is, emotions are something that is with us. So I am with sadness, I am with anger. It's almost like having a visitor that comes and is with you. And so perhaps what's happening, you know, how that has been helping me is like when people are going through depression, it's not that they are depressed, it's that they have this guest, they have this visitor of this deep, deep depression with them. And so in that, knowing that it's the depression is, if you're trying to communicate to the depression, if you're trying to reach the depression to bring forth your love, then you're trying to actually communicate with a total different energy that's not your mother, right? It's this presence that's with her that she's experiencing that is in you know, all involving. So in order to like work with your mother and to support your connection with her and yourself at this time is like almost like how to remember your mother, like how to help her remember the aspects of herself that you know from your just being with her. How do you hold space for somebody's true being to not be tainted by the experiences that they're having, even though those become part of it. And so that could be something even in your own self, is exploring how can you remember, or even like tell stories to somebody, maybe find someone to tell a story to, or stories about the mother that you know, that mother when she's been in her joy or in her creativity or in her sillinesses or her goofinesses, or you know, or even just aspects of her that you've had growing up. Because the kind of the thing I'm seeing is that there's that mother exists and that she's not gone for you. And if it means you having to detach from where she's at right now and just remembering those stories, remembering that it holds for you, and also knowing that you can connect in with that presence of the Divine Mother, that presence of the connection that you share that's really pristine, and that instead of anchoring into or feeding or trying to support energetically that which is the depression that is beside her and visiting her, how can you really start focusing on her energetically? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of the image I have, is seeing it as that, focusing your presence on her. So thank you all so much for popping on and asking questions and being open to me not answering all of them. Sorry about that. And I do look forward to having you all appear, whoever wants to pop on next week. So this is every Wednesday, 2:30 Pacific Standard Time on Wednesdays. And I'm going to figure out this program, because if anyone tried popping on earlier, there was a big issue with the program I was using, but it's a lot easier for me to use. So we'll cross our fingers that we can make it work. And blessings to you and all your next life, your next directions, all the choices that you're making, all the choices that have been made for you that you don't need to partake in anymore. And I just send forth this ray of truth and presence and perseverance to following our Dharma, our path. Thank you so much. Blessed be. Aloha.